Right now, somewhere in the ocean, a boat engine cuts through the water, and a dolphin swims straight toward it, not away, toward it. In most of nature, that's suicide. Getting close to something bigger than you almost never ends well. But this dolphin has fishing line wrapped around its tail, and it just did something almost no wild animal is supposed to do. It asked for help. Here's what makes that so strange. In 2015, a team led by geographer Chris Darramont at the University of Victoria analyzed how humans hunt compared to every other predator on Earth. The results were almost embarrassing. We kill adult prey, the reproductive core of a population, at up to 14 times the rate of wild predators. We are, in the words of the study, a super predator, and animals know it. A few years later, researchers Liana Zanet and Michael Clinchy ran a simple experiment in South Africa's Kruger National Park. They set up speakers at watering holes and played back 3 sounds: a human voice, a lion's roar, gunfire. The animals that came to drink, lions included, were more afraid of the human voice than of the lion. Not the roar, not the gunfire. Just a calm human voice. That alone was enough to send them running. So the instinct is not small, it is not occasional. It is arguably the single strongest survival rule left in the wild. So why would any wild animal ever break that rule on purpose? 2 stories, a decade apart, might explain it. Chapter 1 happened on a night dive in Kona, Hawaii, on January 11th, 2013. A group of divers led by an instructor named Keller Laros was hovering under floodlights watching manta rays feed on plankton when a wild bottlenose dolphin swam in out of the dark water. It moved strangely, off rhythm, almost limping through the water. Laros noticed a fishing line running from its mouth to its pectoral fin, cinched tight enough to be cutting into the skin. A hook was buried in the fin itself. Then the dolphin did the part nobody expects. It swam off into the darkness and came back. It positioned itself directly in front of Laros and rolled onto its side, holding almost perfectly still, as if it understood exactly what needed to happen next. Laros worked the hook and line free by hand. 4 minutes. And the whole time, the dolphin waited, drifting back into position every single time it had to surface for air. Marine rescue organizations are usually clear that untrained divers shouldn't attempt this. This dolphin didn't leave Laros much of a choice. Marine biologists later identified him as a known local dolphin, a male the local dive community had already nicknamed Notch. A year afterward, he was filmed again off the same coast, healthy and courting a female. So he hadn't just survived. He had gone right back to being, in every sense, a wild animal that wanted nothing more to do with people, except for those 4 minutes when he wanted nothing else. Chapter 2 goes back further, to December 11th, 2005. In open water, 18 miles off San Francisco, a crab fisherman spotted a 50-ton female humpback whale, barely able to keep her blowhole above the surface. She was wrapped in roughly 20 separate crab pot lines, each 240 feet long, weighted every 60 feet, cinched so tight they were cutting into her blubber. 12 traps, 90 pounds each, hung off her body like an anchor, dragging her down every time she tried to breathe. A rescue team reached her by early afternoon. 4 divers went into the water with curved knives, fully aware that one strike from her tail could kill any of them instantly. For about an hour, they cut, rope by rope, working in close against a body the size of a school bus, and she never once thrashed. One diver later said her eye tracked him the entire time he worked near her mouth, slow and unblinking, watching. So why didn't she bolt the second the last line fell away? That's the part that still gets argued about. When she was finally free, she didn't swim off. She circled back. Diver James Mosquito later described what happened next to local reporters. She moved from person to person, nudging each one, slow and deliberate, before finally swimming off into open water. The Marine Mammal Center called it the first successful disentanglement of a humpback on the West Coast. Nobody on that boat believed, even for a second, that a 50-ton wild animal owed them anything. She came back anyway. So what's actually going on here? The easy answer is that these animals understand kindness and go looking for more of it. But the real answer, according to the scientists who actually study this, is stranger and a little less flattering to us. In 2017, biologist Robert Pittman published research on a different but related behavior: humpback whales physically interfering when orcas attack other species entirely, seals, sunfish, even gray whale calves that aren't humpbacks at all. And Pittman's explanation wasn't sentimental. He argued the behavior likely evolved to protect humpback calves from orca attacks specifically, and simply misfires outward, toward anything in visible distress, whale or not. That same year, on September 14th, 2017, marine biologist Nan Hauser was diving near Rarotonga in the Cook Islands when a male humpback pinned her against his head and pushed her through the water for almost 10 minutes straight. She thought she was in danger. She was wrong. An 18-foot tiger shark had been closing in behind her the entire time, and the whale had simply positioned his own body between her and it, tucking her under his pectoral fin like she weighed nothing at all. Pittman, when he heard about it, said it fit his data perfectly. So put the pieces together, and the sentimental version that these animals sense our kindness and repay it starts to fall apart. What's more likely is this. Some species evolved a protective instinct so deep, so automatic, it doesn't stop to check who's asking. It doesn't ask what species is drowning. It doesn't ask what species is tangled in a rope. It doesn't ask what species is being hunted by something bigger. It just responds. And for one narrow moment, the oldest rule in the wild, stay away from the super predator, gets overridden by an older rule still. Something in trouble gets help. Whatever happens to be closest gets to give it. That doesn't make it safe to test. Most injured wild animals never do this. Most will bolt or freeze or turn and fight the nearest thing that moves, human or not. Notch and the Farallon whale aren't proof that the fear disappears. They're proof of exactly how rare it is when it does. So the next time you hear about a wild animal swimming toward a boat instead of away from it, know that it isn't broken and it isn't tame. It's running on a piece of code far older than its fear of us, written for its own kind, long before we ever showed up to be feared. Somewhere in the ocean, right now, that dolphin is still out there, still wild, still keeping its distance from almost everything that walks on two legs. Except for 4 minutes in 2013, it didn't.